Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, and today we have a reaction. Now, this reaction is not going to be a vitriol reaction a or really mean. It's just more of looking at the looking at the recreation and kind of pointing out what does and doesn't make sense. Because in this entire case of BS and things that are completely not understandable, even the simple things are getting overlooked because of everything else going on. And it's not to the fault of, at least from a content creator standpoint, it's not intentional. It's just there's so much else going on in this case that it kind of gets lost in the weeds. But without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so we got Asget Industries, and you can watch and listen the whole video in the description below without me pausing and talking and all that jazz. So, without further ado, get into it.
Before we begin, I wanted to thank everyone for their patience. I know it's been a while since part 1, but some personal circumstances made it important for me to take a step back for a moment. Everything's good now, so let's continue on.
Glad to have you back.
In part 1, we talked about the spatter evidence and how it lined up with Maddie and Kaylee's location and position. We also showed how Bryan Kohberger attacked them from the edge of the bed, leaving an impression in the blanket by his knee. And there were other things, like the location of the knife sheath and how the blood spatter calculations were done.
So, this particular video was done before the revelation of the knife sheath actually, well, depending on where you want to put it, whether on the bed, under the comforter, or on the floor, whatever the case, it was not found where they said that it was found. But anyway.
Now we're going to explore the timing and the evidence in between Maddie and Xana's room. What I'll do is play the illustration with little interruption, which will show where everyone was, and then we'll explain more. Bryan is about to start his attack, and the time is 4:16 a.m. It's believed seconds ago he opened Kaylee's door to her room and saw no one there, but he left the door open. This allowed Murphy to come out and see what was going on. When Kohberger starts attacking Kaylee and Maddie in Maddie's room, Murphy starts barking. The barking was caught on audio by the neighbor's security camera.
Okay, so this part I can see happening as far as Murphy kind of running away, still a puppy at this point, and I think it's a golden doodle. They're already a bit skittish as is, so I can see Murphy choosing flight here. Dogs have a couple different ways of dealing with a serious confrontation. That is fight, flight, and then other times it's try to get in the middle and then decide whether to fight or flight. And obviously, Murphy chose flight.
Recorded a number of barks, which helps in telling us where Murphy was at the time. The sounds of barking grabs Xana's attention, and she comes out of her room to see what's going on. It also starts waking up Dylan. While in the hallway, Xana hears commotion going on up in Maddie's room, and goes upstairs to check it out. When getting there, she sees a stranger and yells someone's in the house and runs downstairs.
That's more logical than Kaylee yelling that. However, here's the problem. There's blood on the floor, and it's got the and it's just a straight. There's it's two straight, two vertical droplets. They that don't have a tail, which means he stood. The killer stood there for a few seconds and admired his work, and then you factor in that that whoever killed him posed the bodies. So that's my first issue with this.
Bryan panics and chases after Xana, but he's unfamiliar with the step up to the living room. So he trips and flings his arms to catch his balance.
Okay, then we go to problem number 2. That's with the beer pong table. You factor in that Bryan Kohberger, he is naturally clumsy. If he's tripping over that step, uh, he's going down like a ton of bricks. He's not catching himself. And you have two people running past the beer pong table that is weirdly positioned, I might add. We'll get into that here in a minute. But those cups are not going to be in perfect order over here on the other side of the table. They're going to get flung around.
This knocks over the cups, further waking up Beth downstairs with all the commotion.
I don't see Bethany getting woken up by that if he is asleep.
As we were going through the scene, you would have noticed a bunch of red dots placed in different locations. These were markers left by the investigators. The scene here is where Xana sees Kohberger in Maddie's room. As he chases after her, he bumps the door with his left arm. This left behind a transfer stand that matches with Kaylee and Maddie. Continuing as we go downstairs, you'll see some more markers. Kohberger's hand touches the rail as he runs down the stairs, leaving behind transfer stains, one resulting in DNA match with Maddie. Moving forward to the end, Kohberger swiped a corner.
Okay, so here's the other issue that if we're going in a full sprint, this is for Xana in this particular scenario and the killer. They're going down the stairs way too quickly to be making that tight of a turn. What they're going to end up doing is, if I can find a little bit better. They're not going to be like right tight up on there. They're actually going to be bouncing off that outside wall and then shooting back down the stairs. Both of them. So, given the fact that at this juncture, Bryan would be covered in this particular scenario, the killer would be absolutely covered in blood, and you would see like a shoulder, like an arm or shoulder stain, especially if the killer is right-handed, because that's going to be the hand that's going in, going to have the most amount of blood. You're going to see prints on that outside wall on the landing. Because if you want to believe that this chase happened, both of them are going full speed. And maybe Xana is agile enough to not fly all the way into the wall, but the killer in this case, like he's bouncing off the wall, going down the stairs. He's not making that tight turn. There's no like handle really grab to swing yourself around. So coming down the stairs, bouncing off the outside wall, going down.
Transferring these stains to 3 locations. All 3 of these stains tested positive for the presence of blood. As he rounds the corner, he holds out his hand to balance himself, creating another blood transfer labeled J. He then enters the living room. He trips and flings his arms to catch himself. There are many things that support this illustration, and we're going to show these details next, starting here. In this illustration, you can see an area saturated here with water. When officers first arrive, you can see these wet areas marked here, and as we move forward, you can see it here on the table as well. Let's rewind that so we can see it here again. In later photos, the water has dried up, but it is visible here and in many other videos. Here's another view from another officer's body cam.
Okay, think about this for a minute. First off, why in the world are you having the beer pong table there? And Whitcomb brought it up in the book. Where that table is does not make sense, because it cuts off access to the bathroom and it cuts off easy access to the kitchen. You are going to turn the table. It's where, like, this end, I think the couch is out further than what it should. We'll have to go back to the actual body cam footage to see. But I think the couch is out further than what it actually should be. Because you look at the TV over there, and that's kind of positioned weird. But, I mean, you look at the opening here. Like, there's definitely not enough space for a grown-ass man. Xana might be able to run by, but again, she's running, she's flailing her arms, she's screaming. And you factor in also, if this chase does happen, she's got 3 options to choose from. Run out the back door and escape to freedom and living, or run out the front door to escape and live. But Xana picks the bedroom, which is a dead end. There's no way out. You can say, "Oh, but Ethan was there." And I am going to place some of the numbers here. I know it's not the case with every woman. I understand that. But when it and this isn't a knock by any stretch, and quite frankly, this is what I would want my girlfriend or wife to do. But women are going to be more likely to choose life when it pertains to boyfriend, husband. They're going to choose the exit and leaving him for dead, as opposed to playing protector. That's just the typical biology, the typical psychology. Now, if it would have been a child or Xana's child, then it would be different. But this is Xana's boyfriend, Ethan. And simple psychology says, if this chase happened, Xana's either picking the back door or the front door. She's not picking the dead end. unless she was in such a panic, she chose to go on the inside part of the table and condemning her. It is all depending on if, again, assuming this chase happened. If she picked going on the inside of this table, then she condemned her fate there. But if she goes outward and then in, then again she condemned herself. Either way, it doesn't quite match up with the way that simple psychology works. Like I said, this isn't a knock on women. Like, this isn't a jab. I would want I would want my girlfriend or my wife to, in the future, my future girlfriend or wife, I would want them choose life, leave me for dead. I'm fine with that. And it I just don't think this chase happened. Period.
Am. In this image, we can see here that 7 cups are on the floor.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, why in the world? Why in the world in a normal party setting you would have that table like way over, turned 90 degrees and more by the couch instead of cutting off access to the kitchen and cutting off access to the bathroom. Yeah, that beer pong table in among itself just being where it's at, let alone one side of the table being perfectly stacked. That's odd. Which leads me to believe that table was set up purposefully, either before or after the murders. And it was set up that way purposefully to bog down any chase that would have happened. And let me tell you, if that is the case, that is an insane level of planning.
The other 3 cups remain on the table. Together they made up the triangle at the end. In this section, you would see how the cups would have been set up, each of them holding an inch or 2 of water. Because these cups remain undisturbed, including the bottle on the table and a few other items, it's believed the table wasn't bumped, but instead that the cups were struck from the side. In Beth's interview, she recounts hearing the cups hit the floor.
You heard the pong table slide on the floor like someone had bumped into it. Mm-hmm. Did you hear anything?
Hold on.
In Beth's interview, she recounts hearing the cups hit the floor.
You heard the pong table slide on the floor like someone had bumped into it. Mm-hmm. Did you hear anything? Cups fall or something. You heard what?
Either cups fall off of it or like the table moved to the side.
Let's look more at the living room. Here you can see...
Okay, so those are 2 different sounds. Was it screeching or was it falling? Because if, like, that's not... You can tell the difference between cups falling and tables moving. Table moved, you're gonna hear screeching, or you're just gonna flat out hear a thud. And then cups falling is, well, if you've ever been at a college party, a high school party, or any party that has beer pong, the sound of cups falling, fairly obvious.
A list of different markers of different stains found throughout the area. All of these markers were diluted with blood splatters.
Now, here's the important part. You have blood stains over here. I do believe there's blood stains actually on this end of the wall. Well, that wasn't picked up. Where that stain is out wild.
What happens is, Kohberger strikes the cups, and then flings his arms back through the fluid, diluting the blood on his gloves before it casts off to the wall. Because Xana was in the path of the cast-off, it creates a masked area where no stains are found, which is illustrated here. From the time the attack started in Maddie's room to entering the hallway of Xana's room, only 1 minute of time has passed. Thanks again for watching. Part 3 is in the works.
All right. So, it does to a degree make sense. But again, you then have to assume that Bryan Kohberger is athletic enough to catch himself by waving his arms. And he's just not. He's not catching himself there. He's falling into that beer pong table. Xana's able to get in that room, wake Ethan up, and start barring the door, calling 911, doing whatever they need to do to survive the night. And again, even with that trip up, that would have given Xana more than enough time to get bedroom, shut the door, lock it, because to my understanding, all the rooms had their own lock. That would have bought Xana enough time. Get in that room, lock the door, wake up Ethan, call 911, and do whatever you need to do. I firmly believe that this beer pong table was set up in the aftermath. If this chase happened, this happened, and that beer pong table was set up long after the murders. Which, again, you have to ask, how did the bloodstains get there then?
Cast off to the wall. Because Xana was in the path of the cast-off, it creates a masked area where no stains are found.
I also think there's a bloodstain found over by the legs of the table as well,
which is illustrated here. From the time the attack started in Maddie's room to entering the hallway of Xana.
And on top of that, if Murphy took that exact same path that Asget's alleging here, you would imagine Murphy is going straight to Jack Tours. He's scared. He doesn't know what's happening to Mommy. So the natural reaction, run to Daddy. Be outside that door and barking your ass off. But either Jack wasn't awake or Jack wasn't home. Do with that information with what you will. Now, it was very well done, but there's a few things that it doesn't explain. You would still have killer's DNA in that house, and I'm not talking about touch DNA, I'm talking blood DNA. Still do not have transfer DNA found anywhere in Ethan and Xana's room. No blood from Maddie. There's no blood from Kaylee inside that room. And on top of that, the floor leading up to Xana's room is damn near spotless, outside of some bloodstains that appear to be wiped. So, yeah, we got problems with it. Got problems with this. But overall, very professionally done video. I enjoyed it. I think it's a very good tool to use for at least for me to show you exactly what would have happened in reality, as opposed to just trying to describe it. Because get to so problem is, as I mentioned, in this particular room, Kaylee and Maddie, they were posed. There was two vertical gravity droplets that did not have a tail, meaning he was standing still. He was savoring the moment. Was not interrupted in the course of killing Kaylee and Maddie. Because therefore Xana never goes upstairs. The chase never happens. And we get left with, as per usual in this case, more answers. I'm Dylan Hildreth. This is Hildreth Investigates. We'll see you in the next one.